Hello folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you in our DPP Revival Invitational series. This is a round 4 showdown between Emeral and Crying. Both players in loser's bracket fighting for their lives, and whoever loses here is going to be out. Not much else needs to be said though. Let's jump right into this. Flygon leads Swampert lead, not a favorable matchup for Flygon. Got a U-turn out into a Breloom. That looks like Scarf Flygon lead. Scarf Flygon lead usually indicating offense, but Focus Punch ripped onto a Swampert. Probably was trying to roar out the Breloom, trying to absorb the Spore, but gonna get punished for that. And Heatran's gonna be the immediate follow-up here. And Emeral probably bring a Fire Water Grass Core with Heatran, Swampert Rose potentially, or even. But this Starmie here just putting in a little bit of overtime, as Gengar and Flygon have taken significant damage, and Flygon's gonna be pivoted back into Roserade here, and go U-turn here into Infernape. Infernape probably gonna get Stun Sport though, so great play by Emeral to try and play around the Infernape, but gotta sacrifice the Roserade. Getting a layer of spikes up, but gotta be weary of the Starmie. But the Starmie from Crying's end is pretty low. It's at 40%. However, this Flygon is gonna be an immense pain in the neck for Emeral, but will be able to pivot around it. And Crying trying to sacrifice the Infernape from the looks of it, and probably will do just that. But Emeral try to fish for a full pair, not gonna get it. I think Emerald's gonna have one more chance, unless Crying has a T-Tar in the back. Doesn't want to take any chances. And gonna get the KO, but Starmie's gonna be invited in for free, and this Starmie is immensely threatening. Going to get the Surf off, however, despite that, it will die to Hazards next time. So Crying gotta swap out, gotta keep it as a sacrificial piece that could be useful later on, and Emerald's just gotta protect here. Pretty safe play here, and Starmie's gotta be sacrificed to Hazards. Lava Plume's there, probably looking to get the Breloom in. Although Crying makes a mistake here, thinking that the Heatran's probably full Spadef, and going to forfeit there. So Emerald's gonna take game 1. A little bit of post-game commentary there. I think really you see that how something like the flaws of lead Flygon in general is that one, like, it can be okay to start the game off, but you just really want that immediate power when you're starting the game off, and something like a Scarfgon, it can be helpful for getting around something like lead Latias, but against like the team that Emeral brought, which looks like a very classic 2016-esque team with, like, Swampert, Heatran, Rose, Gengar, and then the last is probably a second Steel, probably something like a Jirachee, because assuming Emeral adapted this to more modern standards of DPP, which he probably should, is that you probably, well, T-Tar is plausible here too, but like T-Tar or a second Steel like Jirachee. But the thing with Swampert structures is that generally you can get away with running just one Steel, because Swampert effectively, like for the most part, functions almost like a second Steel as far as like Jirachee checks go. But I think like, but the problem, but like, if you're running something like Heatran, it's like, yeah, there's like, Spexality, which can like overwhelm you if it like gets a Surf off, but like you have the Roserade, which I assume Emeral put some Spadef bulk into, so like that makes it a little bit more acceptable. But I think you probably want something like Emeral does have like Sub Gengar, which can help a little bit against Clefable, which is interesting because you normally don't see that on these kind of teams. Instead, you would normally see Rotom, so that's a pretty cool take that Emeral has here. And then as for Crying's last, you gotta have a Steel somewhere. Something like a Metagross would actually make sense for this team. The other thing I could think of that could make sense is something like Jirachee could totally, actually I think second Dragon like Lati could totally work here. Well, maybe Bronzong even, but enough speculative stuff. We still got series to go through. Here we are, game 2. T-Tar lead, Jirachee lead. Sandstream going up first, gotta swap out, don't want to take any chances. And got FUD into Heatran, and that Jirachee is a mix, or like a utility Jirachee, so nice play by Emeral to get rocks up there, knowing that Crying probably wanted rocks up first. And Hidden Power Grass revealed on Heatran, but Will-O-Wisp, oh, that is a crippling miss there, because Emeral could have secured himself an immense advantage and was probably trying to use that to take advantage of maybe Crying's lack of familiarity with DPP at a higher level. But got Flash Fire into the opposing Heatran on Emerald's end, and go Wisp again, so great stuff there from Emeral. Probably Spadef Tran if he was okay making that play. And EQ's got FUD there, and that Flygon is effectively useless. And Starmie's gotta be swapped in. Gotta get EQ'd again, but T-Tar does have a nice entry point here, but Emeral, knowing that he can probably live one, is gonna be able to get the Rapid Spin off 3%. And gotta swap out again, gotta save it as possible fodder, and great double there. And as Crying probably anticipate a recover, but gonna make a pretty solid play there. And Crying's gonna get the Fire Blast off, so this is probably like a Sash T-Tar based on how Crying's playing this. That's very much a thing. So Crying's team very much a balance. And EQ into Celebi. Celebi probably... Oh, okay, U-turns there. Probably still defensive Celebi, but great play there to anticipate the T-Tar entry into Megros, which is gonna threaten it out. Emeral has to be careful of Thunder Punch here. If this is T-Punch meta, then you are in trouble. Oh my. Zen Headbutt is just as bad. And this Megros looks like it's going to do some numbers, and that Mash Raise will certainly solidify that. And it is 262 meta. So Crying's gonna take this game 2 to tie it up 1-1. I think that Gyarados was probably defensive Gyara, like based on, or either that, or it's like maybe it was like T-Wave Gyara on Emerald's end, but because like this team is a little bit slow. Actually, maybe not. We don't know for sure because the Megros quite literally just Zen Headbutt its way through Gyara, but if Crying had T-Punch meta, which on some agility sets is very much a thing, Emeral was also just as equally in trouble, so great stuff from Crying. Being able to disguise the Agiligros on this kind of structure, like, because when you see lead T-Tar, normally you're probably thinking balance, probably thinking defense, so Crying bringing out some. And then you had like the Heatran that was like maybe offensive with like Pasho Berry, and then the Scarf Flygon, and then the Celebi U-turn being able to set up the T-Tar as fodder. The other way Crying could probably achieve this was with Baton Pass, which I know like on some defensive Celebi sets has been experimented with. I know Ladon I think worked on a build like that where you basically use Baton Pass to bypass the Crunch versus Pursuit mind game, and then bringing in something like Agility Malgross is like a nice way of doing it. As per Crying's last here, I would expect there to be probably a Latias is possible. Rotom is also a viable last pick. That's just like a couple picks I could think of off the top of my head. Because I think you generally want like a second Levitate Hulk, because like Crying's team is like not fast enough to justify not having a good hazard control, and then you know other factors like that. Maybe even a Mag of some kind. Actually no, I don't think Mag would make sense, but I think something like a Laddie or Rotom could totally make sense here. But I digress. Here we are, game 3. Whoever loses here is gonna go home. Jirachee, Flygon. Flygon gonna U-turn here into their own Jirachee. Emerald's gonna get rocks up here. And Fire Punch. Oh, Okay, Stealth Rock's Fire Punch, this could be like Iron Head and then plus Toxic Blast. That's like a possible set that I've seen before on like these elite Jirachees, which is something that I've tried myself before. Oh no, it's Thunder instead, which is not a bad pick either. But Crying's Jirachee gonna be crippled by Serene Grace Thunder. And Crying just trying to catch a Starmie on the switch, trying to get a body slam off, not gonna get it. Instead, Starmie's gonna Rapid Spin, gotta invite into Breloom. Crying probably wants to scout out the Psychic, but nope. Instead, Celebi is the Breloom answer, and a great entry by Crying to anticipate that, bring in the Tyranitar. And going to Crunch into a Starmie, and into a Jirachee. Yeah, the Scarf's gonna get hazards up here. I think if you're Crying, you gotta have... Oh man, I think you need to have something like a... Oh, Fire Punch is here. Probably just got Fish for a burn. I hope you have a spinner in the back. I think on these structures you normally do have a spinner. Or at least I would hope so. I mean, something like Zap Me Blast on this could be viable. And just got Fire Punch again. And into Suicune. So Suicune also fixture on these Flygon teams because something like Flygon can cover your Zapdos matchup. But Quagsire is going to be a follow-up here. Got Ice Beam. That is a Spadef Quag if I've ever seen one. Oh, this might be Chesto Suicune. What do you know it is? You know, this also kind of gives you a little bit of a catch-all to cover. I believe it lets you cover something like, oh man, okay, I'm losing thought right now, but basically gives you a little bit more longevity, also covers sleep. That's what I was thinking of. Quagsire gonna recover here, and Emeral bringing out a full-on stall team, a spinner-centric stall. From what I can tell, and then T-Tar's the last here. Yeah, that makes sense because if you're running Starmie on stall or like balance, I guess in this case, and yeah, it is a Scarftar, but that's gonna invite the Breloom in for free. And Stone Edge got missed there. Gotta get the Spore off. Now Breloom can load up a Focus Punch for free. I know Piteous could optimize something like, I believe it was off the top of my head, Hydro Pump Starmie on stall, like Hydro Recover, Spin, and then something like Ice Beam or like Psychic Blast. That's a set I know is very much a thing, and on stall it's like nice because it gives Starmie offensive, or it gives like the defensive team a little bit more instant momentum and firepower. And T-Tar gotta get the Pursuit off, and Emeral's just gonna send the Jirachee out. The Jirachee's like on a fast ticking timer into a Breloom here, and I don't know about this. Oh my, I'm trying to think of what, I think Crying might potentially be setting up for a last Pokemon situation, because like, I think the plays that Crying is making is like, okay, yeah, there's the Ice Beam, not too surprising. But yeah, like I said, don't be surprised if this thing has Recover, because like, if you look at the pace that Emerald's team is playing at, and yeah, so it is likely Ice Beam Surf, Ice Beam, oh, Gengar Last could absolutely do it for Crying here. Oh my, yeah, this Gengar is actually a problem. If this is Substitute, this is super over. Leech Seed fails there, so Emerald... Yeah, no, he just loses. I mean, you just lose. Actually, no, there's one other way. Okay, that Spadef drop does not help Emerald's case. Yeah, like Gengar Suicune, this is like very much a French thing. Not like particularly unheard of per se, and then T-Tar's gotta be swapped into this Gengar, gotta take only 13%. Really, I think what Emeral's hoping for is that this Gengar, or really hopes that he gets an early wake, which is pretty much the only way he's getting out of this. Does not get it. Got probably the worst possible scenario that he could have wished for. And the Gengar, even though it's encored into S-Ball, is just got a clean house. And Crying's going to win this series 2-1. That was really ugly, to be frank. And I think, I'm not sure if, oh man, okay, yeah, this Quagsire did not have Ice Punch. So that was ultimately a builder decision that kind of came back to bite Emeral in the butt, because ideally, the idea is that like you keep T-Tar so that you can handle these ghosts on the structure that Emeralds bring. Leech Seed on Selby is an interesting choice because this is like very much an old school thing. This is like probably before like Clefable really took off in popularity. But like I suppose the rationale is that if you're like against everything else not named Clefable, and then let's say this is running HP Fire or something for like Breloom, like just to keep it in check, because like you gotta remember Leech Seed floods into grasses. And for those of you coming, and for my ADV viewers coming in over, you'll probably remember how annoying Leech Seed as a progress maker in AV can be, and it can be applied to some degree in DPP despite the fact that, you know, Clefable is generally very prominent. And so like that's interesting to see, but I think like if you're, but some Quagsires actually run Ice Punch. The reason for that is so that you can at least hurt something like D-Knight. But like in Emerald's case, he didn't run that. He ran like Toxic. So like these are, because the thing with Quagsire is that there's actually quite a few combination movesets that you can run on this, but on this build, Emerald probably figured, okay, look, I have Encore. The idea is that you can use something like Scarf Tyranitar to kind of set up the trap on something like a Gengar in an ideal world, like this aforementioned scenario where Gengar's locked into Encore. But the problem was that Emerald unfortunately just got a really long sleep with the Scarf T-Tar, because if he was able to wake up in time, then he could have at least gotten himself out of a jam, and then something like Starmie, Quagsire, and Selby all could have at least, well, okay, at least, like, you know, could have maybe had a chance to survive, like, you know, the Jirachee and the Flygon, and then hope that the Flygon like low rolls into Quagsire, but I don't know the exact investments. Whereas on Crying's team, the thing with Crying's team is that like, there's something like Suicune Gengar, I think, I'm trying to remember who ran this. I know Student Sinnoh has done structures with like Suicune, Gengar, Breloom. That is not new. Something that we've seen before. I know Scario used it a couple SPLs ago. I think like French players generally have like this combination a fair bit, and it's a decent combination because if, for example, like Suicune and Gengar, they both really hate Rotom, for example, so you have something like T-Tar that can really enable these threats to kind of go off. That being said though, if you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.